What's up guys, Steven with RSM Property Management. I'm going to be working on my Cat 313 a little bit today on the thumb. I know I haven't really posted a video where I'm talking about any of these machines lately. I've just been kind of posting these little quick action videos, but I recently bought this 313, traded my 85G excavator and just stepped it up a little bit. This is a used machine, and the dealer I got it from had recently put this thumb on here, and I typically don't like a thumb that attaches up on the stick. I don't think it's near as strong. I like the main pin thumbs where like my other machine had, but this one was already on there, so I'm just kind of beef it up a little bit, address some things I see wrong with it to try to improve it and work with what I got rather than paying $10,000 for a progressive or something like that. So the first thing I'm gonna try to tackle here is the main pin that attaches the thumb to the stick. So there's a pretty big gap between these flanges and the mounting flange on the stick, which has bearings that go inside of it. Let me just walk over here and show you. There. So this here is a lot more narrow than what this is. So that's an issue, because when I'm yanking trees up and stuff like that, this thumb is flopping back and forth like that. That gives the flanges a lot more opportunity to bend and get tweaked. So what I did, I had two 1/4 inch AR 400 rings cut, and they are going to weld right there. Now I had them cut this big because obviously it's more surface area, the bigger diameter for the leverage or the holding, but it also gets around the weld of this. And I'm going to weld this around the outside, and this will allow grease to get kind of trapped in here and lubricate this. Same thing on the bottom side. So this is going to close in that gap a 1/2 inch. A 1/2 inch from here to out here when this thing is swinging is going to take up a lot of play. So that's the first thing I'm going to address. The next thing is, because the attachment point of this thumb is so high versus where the bucket attaches, or the quick attach coupler on that thing, when I grab stuff, it pushes it up into the top of it, kind of like a pair of scissors. When you start to cut a piece of paper, you always start at the very back. That's kind of what this is doing here. When I grab it, if it misses these teeth or gets up in here, it'll push it all the way up into here and try to pinch it, which there's no grip right here. So had me some teeth cut. I'm gonna weld those right there, and that's gonna take care of that. I've got two of those. Matter of fact, one's over there. And this is all 3/4 inch, same material thickness as on the thumb. The next thing, I'm going to close that up a little bit more right there. Now that's about the limit, because it has to pass through the mounting block right here. But just a little extra rigidity there where I could get it in. Next thing, you see the metal's tore up right here. The point of that shank tries to go up in there pretty hard. Sometimes it'll try to grab that steel and rip it, just because the shank is not really matched with this thumb. So I'm going to take this steel plate, I've got to trim it down, but it's going to go in there, basically sealing that off, so the point of the shank can't go past that. It'll just hit it and stop, which is still plenty enough to get full of grip right here. Another issue is the shank will go up in here, which is good because it gives you extra clamping force, but the problem is the length of this thumb goes past the shank, and if you don't open them up in sequence and time them just right, it will bind up right here. You can see where it's been bending that tube right there. It'll bind up. It ain't really a tube, I guess it's solid stock, but it'll bind up right there and just pop apart really hard. So we're going to put this in between here and close this up. That way it can't pass through anymore. It'll just stop. Last thing, because this flange is so long and there's no support up here, these obviously have to be trimmed a little bit, but we're going to gusset from this tube all the way up to the upper side, leaving room for the bolt to come out here for the pin, also leaving room for the bolt to come out down here. This will have to be trimmed a little bit, and this will have to be radiused to get all the way against the tube, but we're going to do that on both sides. And I think after doing all that, it might be a little bit more functional with less flop. So let's get the welder fired up, more so the grinder, and get all these parts fit and see how it goes. About halfway through with these mods. Well, more than halfway through. Really the only thing I got left to do is these gussets here and close in this area right here. But the plate in between there turned out really nice, and these actually turned out really nice. I don't even think I'm going to sand that weld off. I'm just going to leave the material in there, but that should help a lot. Got this gusset welded in there, and we got our teeth on down through here. So with these, gonna have to knock these corners off pretty good to get it to sit against that pin. You can see how much weld is piled up there, so I'm gonna get to work on that. I might do that on the saw versus trying to grind it all. It's gonna be a lot of grinding, but everything's going exactly as planned.
So we're completely done welding all the gussets, extra teeth, everything on this thumb. It's a lot of welding.
You see my sunburn. I should have wore the sleeves the whole time. I'm probably going to regret that, but a lot of long welds. But just to go over again, we did the spacers, we did these gussets for this flange, close that up a little bit more, interior gusset in here, close that off to keep it from continuing to tear that up. Welded both sides. Actually welded really good. We had our teeth. Guys are on both sides. I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out. All went really smooth. I could have probably made that look better at the end, but I really don't care. Got the fan on it now, trying to cool it off quick so I can get my guys to help me throw it back on the machine before everybody leaves today. We're going to try it out. I can already see it is a great improvement. Hey, Ethan's going to take the camera over there for a close-up. As you can see, there is no flop at all in this thing. Those shims took all that play out of it. Where it used to shake side to side like that, it was crazy how much flop it had in it. But now we are good and firm. Don't look like it's going to fall off. Everything is nice and sturdy. So I'll get some Caterpillar paint, throw on this thing. I just wanted to open and close it just to make sure that our gusset here wasn't going to get in the way of anything as far as hitting it. Big improvement. Pretty happy with the way it turned out. Just a halfway paint job to keep it from setting up surface rust, and it's ready to work. Definitely a lot more sturdy piece than what we started with. mean, it's an aggressive thumb, don't get me wrong. I just,
for what they give you to put it on here, and just the clearances of everything is just too big. It needs to be tightened up. But I'm sure it'll work its way loose a little bit as those shims get flattened a little bit, but with a little grease pocket in there, it should have plenty of lubrication, and that'll make it a lot better for me, just the function of it. So thanks for watching.